Does your SN95 ride like a 4x4? Does it handle like a pogo stick? Today, we've got the Sixer and a table full of parts to show you how to make your car handle. Hello and welcome. I'm Darren and this is the SN95 Owner's Guide. And again, I'm joined at the shop with Shawn and his Sixer. And today, Shawn, what are we doing?
We are, for step one, going to change the rear suspension.
Yes.
All of the rear suspension, every piece of it.
Well, aside from the axle.
Well, that's not suspension, that's drivetrain.
That is true. So why are we doing it?
Number one, want improved handling.
Sure.
Also, number two, the suspension is clapped out in this thing.
Yeah.
All the bushings are beat and pounded, everything's seized. It's got springs from something in it, whether they're eBay or whatever, we don't know.
Yeah, not a clue.
But this thing bottoms out on every bump.
Sure. So we're going to take care of that, and the next thing we're going to do is cut to the parts that we'll be using. Okay, so Shawn is a very proud man who's got an awful lot of really good parts for a really terrible car.
Very terrible car, getting some really good stuff.
Yeah, so give us a walk. What do we got? Why do we have these items?
What we selected here is the best parts we could get at the cheapest prices.
Right, affordability without going to eBay or China.
That's right. Everything is from Summit. Everything on the table except these are from the junkyard, but that's different. So what we have, the first thing is the Prothane motion control bushing kit. This is a tip-to-tail complete bushing kit for a 79 to 04 Mustang. The only things that don't come with it, doesn't come with motor mounts, and it doesn't come with sway bar bushings. The only reason it doesn't come with sway bar bushings is because the sway bar sizes change, so you order them separately. But these are cheaper than the Energy suspension kit, which both of us have previously run in other cars, and they're good kits, but they're $120 a kit more.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's like 30% more.
Yeah. So urethane really is urethane. They're both stiff. They'll both do the job. We have a set of lowers.
Right, that's lower rear control arms, right?
Yep, lower rear control arms. These pieces are from BMR. BMR used to be mostly Chevy stuff, but with the beginning of the 05 up Mustangs, BMR got pretty heavy into the Mustang world.
Yeah, absolutely. I run them on my own Shelby GT500, drag race that car. They are solid, quality pieces, and surprisingly, they're cheap.
These were extremely cheap. The only thing that was cheaper was the Summit branded Chinese ones.
Yes.
These are cheaper than Hotchkiss or any of the other aftermarket kits out there. And they come with bushings already in them. They come with grease nipples. They come with your sway bar relocating kits. They're a really nice built piece. Good welds, good finish.
Yep,
and
should be solid.
$200, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely.
Way better than boxing the factories, which we have done. It does work, but it doesn't look as nice.
Yeah, we did it on your 88.
Yep. And to have this with a little more adjustability, it's a nice kit. The next thing we have here is these. These are Ford Racing M5300C springs. Front spring rate of 650, back spring rate of 200 to 300 progressive. They are a true Ford Racing part, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Didn't even know they actually made them still. These are the exact same springs I run in my 88. These things work really good.
Yeah, they're really nice. They're linear rate up front, which is nice and firm. So if you're looking for a cruising car, these are probably going to be a little too aggressive for you.
A touch aggressive. Go with Nibok Pro.
Sure, that's what I did in my 95 GTS. I went a little bit of the Grand Touring, kind of do a little bit of everything. It worked well. Shawn, in his 88, wanted to be absolute track, so this is what he selected. There's quite a bit of difference. One's very harsh on the street, one's very livable, but these perform very well on the track, whereas mine's a little bit soft in the front end.
Yeah, you can tell the diameter of pebbles on the road with these springs usually. They are stiff.
Yes.
And we're going to actually make it worse yet when we put this thing all together. The next thing we have is new replacement, cheap, used sway bar bushing.
In other words, junkyard. Is what you're trying to say, Shawn, is junkyard sway bar bushings.
Yes, without really saying junkyard, but yes, junkyard parts.
Yeah.
We got to replace them because someone tried to use the sway bars. The toe point on this car, so they're all bent.
Yeah, we covered that in a previous video where I walked around underneath and said everything wrong with our V6er was a pretty disappointing thing, and we fixed a lot of it, but not all of it. But this is one more thing that just needs some overhaul. And then you've got some less exciting, but you're very excited about them parts.
I'm actually very excited about these. This is a Ford branded ball joint, not Motorcraft, but actual Ford. Like, it comes in Ford boxes with Ford part numbers.
Like, they're still in production, which is amazing.
Yeah. So factory produced ball joints as replacements. We have Motorcraft inner tie rods because they're pounded. We have Motorcraft outer tie rods because they're pounded. The ball joints in this car are still good, but when we pull the control arms and do bushings, we are going to box the control arms. And because we're going to be welding on there, putting some heat, we'll swap the ball joints while we're in there because good.
So this is obviously going to be a big job, and we're not going to take you through every single step because that's boring as anything, and it'll really slow us down. We'll check in periodically as we get things taken apart, point out some critical changes, and we're going to just walk you through the whole system.
Yeah, most of this is just bolt in, bolt out. It's simple stuff.
Cool. So we'll cut to working at it. And we now join Shawn underneath the 6er. You've made some pretty good progress, just yanking things out, unbolting things, sway bars out of the way, and let's talk about the springs.
Well, they're garbage.
Those are not factory springs, first of all.
No. This car has been lowered at some point. It sits about 2 inches lower than stock. The problem is, these springs, whatever brand they are, we don't even know, they could be Chinese, eBay, they're something.
Yeah, they're soft.
They are. That's the problem. When you lower a car, especially 2 inches, like that's a lot, and you don't put a stiffer rate spring in, you bottom out on everything. And this car hits the bump stops on everything.
And since we've added our awesome subframe connectors, now it hits the subframe connectors on everything.
Yeah, there's actually bumps in the road where I'll hit a bump and the subframe connectors hit because the car goes so much it hits the bump stop on the rear, the car comes up abrupt and bang. It's not fun.
No. So this is something that anyone who's got a set of iBox sport lines, I know these are a really popular appearance spring. The spring rates are garbage. They're garbage, guys. We highly recommend against them, whereas the iBox Pro Kit, pretty good rates. I like them.
Yeah, you like them.
Yeah.
Put in comparison, if these are the iBox Sports, the springs that we're putting in this thing are twice the spring rate in the back.
Yeah, we'll throw some stats up on the screen there to let you know what the actual rates on the iBox sport lines. The rears are super soft. I think they're $1.60. They're terrible.
They're basically a drag race spring at that point.
Yeah, they're super, super no good for you. Anyway, we're going to pound onto some more stuff and defeat the rust back here, hopefully without a cutting torch, to try and get some forward progress.
Cutting torch.
Cutting torch. Okay, Shawn, update, right?
It sucks.
It sucks. It's been, I would love to say, oh, it's been a short while, but it's been over an hour. We've been working at this because we're mainly dealing with rust.
As everyone who's seen the previous videos knows, this car has lots of it.
Yeah, you'll notice in the foreground there's a Sawzall with, that is a Diablo, like carbon cutting blade. It is a really good blade, but we've had to Sawzall every one of our bolts out of these lower control arms so far.
It's a $13 blade with carbide teeth, and we're destroying it.
Yeah, we've ruined it. However, we have gotten both of the lower control arms out. They are out, and they are not going back in, and we are not putting bushings in them because, honestly, they're junk, and we've got those BMR ones. So the BMR ones come with their own separate pointed discussion. I'm going to jump over to the workbench, Shawn, and show this in real time. Okay, so the workbench. We had 2 control arms. One of them's already installed, which Shawn has done an excellent job of doing. But the issue is the actual bushing holes. So we've got in Shawn's hand.
This is the M12 bolt. That's what these things are supposed to use in the back of the entire suspension system. All M12 in all the control arms.
Right, so demonstrate.
Perfect.
Perfect fit, and that was on one control arm. But on the other control arm, we discovered this.
This is an M14.
14 fits perfectly. So somehow, despite coming packaged as a pair in the same box, BMR sent us one control arm that had 2 12mm bushings and one control arm that had 2 14mm bushings.
Yep.
So
and it's supposed to have 12s all the way around.
Right. So what we've done is we've sourced some 14mm hardware. These are left over from some leaf spring jobs that I think Shawn had. And what we've done is we've decided to go with one of the 14s in the front on each side and then reaming out the control arm pickup points to a 14mm, which is not easy.
Nope. Especially on the exhaust side.
Yeah, on the exhaust side, it's a bad go. And then on the back side, we're going to leave them as 12 mils and put them together. So check your stuff before you start working. You will almost always need new fasteners.
This would be a good upgrade if you were 500 horsepower.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you're not expecting it,
and it's 150 horsepower.
Yeah, on the Sixer here, it's really unnecessary and a pain. One of the other things to note, if you have a V8 car, which is the best car, you have to drop both of your mufflers out of the way to even get to these bolts, regardless of whether they're seized or not. You got to get that exhaust out of the way.
Yeah.
With the V6, we're able to kind of work around it, but it's not easy. But
so what we're saying is, if you're doing a lowering kit in this thing, do a full exhaust while you're at it.
Yeah, do an exhaust, do control arms, do everything. Do it all in one go. Also, don't do it to your daily driver, and this is Shawn's daily driver, because
this has to be ready to go tonight.
Yeah, tonight we've got to have this all back together. So what we're going to end up doing is breaking this into two parts, because the front is not getting done today. Nope. All right. Well, we'll pick up once we've got some more progress for you. Okay, Shawn. Both lower arms are in?
Yep.
This side wasn't near as bad.
No.
No.
There's no exhaust in the way.
Exactly. We still did have to saw it out, and we did have to ream our holes up to a 14 mil at the front to facilitate that little bit of a screwiness. We're going to contact BMR and see what they have to say about that, see if they can help us out. Maybe give us a big sticker or something. That'd be pretty cool. But now we're on... Or what?
Or uppers.
Uppers. Well, that's quite a stretch. Well, we'll see what happens. It is the internet, after all, where magic happens. So what are we on to now?
We're now going to do the upper control arm bushings.
Okay, and this is not going to be quite as simple where we just take out the old ones and swap them. These ones are actually getting rebushed, correct?
That's right.
Are we doing bushings on the differential housing?
Yes.
We are. I have a tool at home from Maximum Motorsports, which we thought would be a great idea, but that actually pushes out the shells if you want to replace them with more rubberized ones. For us, we're going to put in poly, so that tool doesn't do us any favors. We're going to have to do it the old style. Hopefully it's going to be, what is that Facebook internet video thing where you ram a drill in there, ream it around, and everything comes out?
Drills through, runs around, and eventually breaks it up, spits it out. It does kind of work. I've used it before. It's not as simple as the internet makes it seem. I broke a drill bit last time.
Are we going to try it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see how that turns out. So we have to get a control arm out, and then a couple bushings, and then slap her all back together.
But first we need to get the bolts loose and get the bolts out of the sleeves. We're probably going to have to cut, and things are going to suck.
Yeah, I think we're going to be down to sawzalling some more. Well, let us frustrate with this and cut back to when we have success.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's been literally 2 minutes since our last little update, and remove the stone of shame and show us the stone of triumph. Finally, something that wasn't rusted together.
Yeah.
It came apart super smooth.
It's freaking amazing.
This is awesome luck. And then up there you can see the bushings that we're going to have to try and coax out of there and then replace with awesome urethane from the bench.
Replace awesomeness. Yep.
Should be good. Is that control arm bent?
Well, it's controller.
Well, that's good. Yeah. If it isn't ruined, we're going to reuse it.
That's right.
Wow, things aren't too terrible up there.
We might still get the fronts done yet if this goes like this. You
Yeah.
know, the lowers and the front ones are going to be absolutely...
They're going to be shot.
We're going to have to like replace the whole K-frame or something.
Yeah. Yeah, call up Maximum Motorsports and order a whole front end. All right, but this is a good start. The bottoms were not this easy.
No.
All right, more to follow.
So apparently, according to the internets, that you all usually take a drill and a drill bit, and you come in here into the rubber, and it'll work its way around, and it breaks everything free. Going.
Well, that wasn't too bad.
It's a lot easier than our normal method.
Which is fire for like a half hour.
Usually you get burns.
All right, looks like a little bit of cleanup, but way better than the old method.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
For once, the internet never lied to us.
Yeah, that's true. Now, if all those clickable ads and emails were real, things would be awesome.
That Nigerian prince, he could fund us.
Yes. Good. We could take the Sixer from not a rust bucket into a more expensive rust bucket that was quicker.
With a barrel swap.
A barrel swap. That would be fun to do. If you guys don't know what
this thing, though.
If you guys don't know what a barrel swap is, take a look at the internet. See what the Aussies are doing with 4-liter inline 6 Fords. They're cool. Super cool.
Swap. Hashtag barrel swap.
Hashtag barrel swap. Barrel swap the world.
That's barrel swap the world, absolutely.
Well, it's always fun to watch Shawn lube up a something. We are making excellent progress, finally, after screwing around with those lower control arms. The rebush of the uppers is going really nicely.
Just swimmingly.
Yes, absolutely swimmingly. And something we will say is if you buy a big bulk kit like this, make sure you retain your instruction sheets, because it's all well and good when they're in boxes, but as soon as you hit them all on the table, it can get a little bit tricky to figure out what goes where. But if you keep the instruction sheets, it's no big deal.
That's right. Yeah, it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Using urethane to knock urethane in.
Yeah, these are going together really nicely. On my 95, I bought Hotchkiss ready-made, ready done. Shawn did this on his 88 from scratch. Probably, what was that, 10 years ago, 12 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. Easier this time around?
Yeah, well, no.
No?
No, the 88, we did not have the rust.
Oh yeah, that's true. But we know the internet tricks now about
right.
bushing removal. There's no more use of fire and arcane cutters.
And massive amounts of burning. No more burning.
Yeah. So remember to hit this stuff with all of this crazy sticky grease. This stuff is very important. It's also very miserable to work with, but it is extremely important to maintaining your sanity and avoiding squeaks in the rear.
For the average person, yes.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We're going to get this all together. This is going really nicely. And with that said, it will effectively jinx us on the driver's side, and we'll be back in 3 hours. Okay, Shawn. Success, yes?
Yep, success.
This went together pretty easily. Takes a little bit of coaxing with a rubber mallet and shifting things around. Notes to you working at home on jack stands. That's how I did mine. First of all, you'll notice we're only doing one arm at a time.
Yes.
Very important. Also, we have the shocks disconnected. Extremely important. And the springs out of the way. Very helpful. But do them one at a time.
Yeah, if you pull them all, which we made that mistake before.
Yeah, for sure.
You spend an hour trying to get everything lined back up.
Yes, and the other thing that you have to do, especially with the uppers, is with the suspension at full droop, you have to basically be able to jack the diff up and down and move it around. Otherwise, the lower holes just will not line up for you.
To get this one to line up, with this arm still in, we had to go up almost the whole way to where the diff would come over and go in back into the control arm.
Yes, otherwise the bolts weren't going to line up for love nor money.
That's the one problem with this design of suspension, is as it goes up and down, it actually changes the pivot point and binds.
Yeah, that's why these are basically called a quadra-bind, and you can take a look at some of the solutions for dealing with them. Corner Carvers has got an interesting one called the Poor Man's 3-Link, or the P3ML, or PM3L. There, that's how that goes. Look that up. It's kind of crazy.
You can put a boxed in with a factory-style rubber bushing. That is an option. I do recommend if you're doing a urethane bushing, leave them unboxed.
Yes.
Let the upper control arm flex and move a bit, and that'll take some of the bind out.
Yes, because if you try and box everything up and make it tight as a drum, it will actually just bind worse, and then it's not great. Might be good for a drift car because the back end will just lock up and slide all over the place.
My 88.
Yes.
To a certain point, tons of grip. If you pushed it that next bit, instant drift car. You could pretty much dance the back end wherever you wanted.
Yeah.
The only reason the suspension worked the way it did in my car is I basically had no real wheel travel.
Yeah.
So it couldn't bind.
Yeah, you didn't allow a lot of travel there, and you relied on mechanical grip of the tires, but that's why you overrode the sidewalls all the time.
Yes, I touched the rim to the ground.
Yeah. So for those of you playing along at home, we're 75% of the way through the rear control arms.
Now we just got to do the other side. But that's the side where the exhaust is. So fun again.
Yeah, we're just going to skip to whenever that's done. You don't need to see how miserable that might be.
You don't want to see me lose my temper.
Sure. MV8 owners, have the exhaust out of the way. Trust me, you'll thank us.
Pull it first. Yep.
Definitely. All right, and to the next jump. Okay, Sean, what do you think?
Well, they're in. It's good. Interesting note, us talking about bind and all that stuff. With all the bushings in, the way she fits with, you know, a weight pulled down on her, we lost 1.5 inches of droop. Now, take into account, the shocks are at their maximum length, so we still got to go up to put the shocks back on. But with no weight on it, the diff sat down here comparatively.
Sure.
So there's that much play in the bushings compared to the urethanes.
Yeah, so hopefully that's a good improvement. We're going to be really keeping an eye out to make sure the suspension doesn't bind as we, beat the hell and thrash this guy thing.
If we get any major problems with bind, we may just go to a adjustable upper with the Hyman joints in it, the spherical bearings.
Oh yeah,
That does take a bunch of the bind out.
Sure does, but that definitely trades some MVH, which Sean doesn't care about, but you at home might.
You at home will.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to button this thing up, throw the springs in the back, which is no big deal when you've got everything set up like this, and then we'll lower the car down and close out for this segment. Okay, so we've got all the control arms in, we got the bushings in, and before we throw the shocks and the sway bar back in, we got to put our springs in. Yep.
Yeah.
These are Ford Racing C springs.
Yes.
Which should be a substantial improvement over the suspected eBay rust springs.
The questionables.
Questionable springs. Now, we do have urethane for the isolators.
Yep, they come with that kit, uppers and lowers.
Yes, and if you want to manipulate those into position, it's a pain in the ass. So what you do is zip tie them to the spring, put them in.
Or tape them or something.
Yes, something so you're not trying to fish them in and out as you install them.
Yeah, they replace the rubber isolators. The rubbers are the best for noise
Yes.
canceling. These are not quite as noisy as none is, so kind of put it halfway between. But one of the tricks, if you want to get your car a little bit lower, pull these. Remove them.
You just leave them out, run the bare spring on the bare metal.
Yep. Now, NVH, or noise vibration harshness, especially with everything else being urethane, goes out the window.
Yes.
Yep. But I don't care.
And just like, again, my car versus Sean car, my 95 has the isolators in, Sean's 88 never did.
Nope.
So Sean is keeping with the theme and the spirit of being consistent. No isolators.
Takes a 1.5 inch lowering kit and turns it into a 2 inch lowering kit.
Yeah, pretty much. So the choice is yours. Okay, so that's a wrap for part one, mainly because the lower suspension bolts did not give us any joy. They ate quite a bit of our project time, but we're able to finish the entire rear end, and we gave it the highly scientific bounce test where Sean basically tried to yank it and see how well it would suspend his weight. What do you think?
Well, before with the other springs, I could pull down on it and make it hit the bump stop.
Yes.
It would fully jam into the bump stop and bounce.
Yeah. So
with the new springs, I can come clear of the ground on it and it moves 1 inch.
yeah, so Sean can do chin-ups off of his bumper bar, which is pretty impressive, and the car hardly moves. So that means we've got a much better spring in there, and all the suspension should work much better. Now, hopefully you'll join us in part two, where we take care of the front suspension. We're going to do a similar bushing treatment, a spring. We're also going to box some control arms. But until next time, we'll see you later.